So tonight, we're very fortunate to have, starting out with our show, a little blues talk by Art Wachter, who is both a musician and a music producer. And so we'll bring Art up on the screen. And there we go. Okay, and you can unmute yourself.
Now you should hear me.
Yes, and that's great. So we're so glad to have you join us, Art, and with our Blues Society, and especially pleased that you're going to be able to tell us a little bit about the music producer side of you before you get into the music.
Well, thanks so much for having me and for having Cindy tonight. And first of all, congratulations on the success with the CD. And I encourage everybody to buy one, which I'm going to do tonight as soon as we're done here.
Okay.
It's a pleasure to be with you folks tonight. And Cindy and I are both big blues fans. And you had asked me to talk a little bit about my production side. And so it's hard to talk about yourself, I should say. But I have had an event production company in Baltimore for a number of years that I work with nonprofits in producing large events. Things, everything from symphony hall dates at the Meyerhoff Symphony Hall to Red Rocks in Colorado to
Wow.
all venues through DC, even the Capitol Strand in New York. And they're generally tied into nonprofit organizations where we help nonprofits raise money. And part of every fundraising initiative, you have some kind of event or concert. And so that's my real life. I call that my job. Everything else is the fun part. So you asked me about song side, and a number of years ago, before there was streaming on YouTube and on Facebook and other places, we got interested in streaming. So we started streaming, and we needed a venue to do that. So my farm at the time was called Songside Farm. And so I said, all right, I'm going to register the name Songside. And that's how it started. We started to stream all the concerts from a series that I started called the Wagon Shed Concert Series in New Freedom, Pennsylvania. And we streamed all of the open mics and all of the concerts there. And then we would take select audio, and we actually had what we called Songside Radio. And so you could get on and you could listen to a collection of songs from all the concerts. So that's really how all that started. And out of, having Songside, I got into the production of albums. So we started putting record albums out on Songside Records. Never really an intention of going into the record business.
Yeah.
But people would ask and say, hey, could you help me, produce an album? And so that's what I started doing. And we've not a lot of albums because we don't actively pursue albums to produce, but we do some. I did the last two albums for Frank Vignola, a national level jazz guitarist. Caroline Herring is a folk singer. $3 Suit, a local band, and a number of others. And so that's kind of how all that came together.
Okay, so along with some of the things that you've been doing, I think you you host NPR show.
Yeah, for about the past 16, 17 years, I've been a host of a program called The Folk Show on WPSU. It's an NPR affiliate out of State College in Pennsylvania. And it's funny because it's the oldest show of its kind on the planet. It's been running since 1953. And no, I haven't been there that long. I'm not that old. But it's an honor to be part of that show. It's broadcast on about 14 public radio stations throughout Pennsylvania. And it's a handful of us that host that show. And it's a collection of old traditional folk music, everything from old Woody Guthrie, Bob Dylan stuff, through modern day folk music. And folk music covers a lot of territory these days. So that's all acoustic blues, bluegrass, Celtic music, Irish music. So we do a combination of all that on the show. And then occasionally some live interviews. We've had David Bromberg on and a few other artists, and have done some live interviews, strictly radio, not television. So it's a pleasure doing that. And it's, I say with music, people cannot get along in many ways, whether it's governments or families or neighbors, but music brings people together, as you know, and blues is certainly one of those genres that I love. And so the folk show has also been a vehicle for bringing people together, and that's kind of where that is.
So do you also do any festivals? Is that part of what you do with the nonprofits?
We do. I do. I manage the New Freedom Fest every year. That's in New Freedom, Pennsylvania. We have 3 stages. It's a one-day festival. I also work with the Susquehanna Folk Music Society, and Hank Imhoff, a wonderful guy and great musician who's very involved with that. I work with Hank on that, and because of the pandemic, we've kind of been put on hold. But this year we are doing just a handful of live concerts, and the rest are virtual. But we do have David Bromberg coming to Allegro Winery on September the 11th. And we're looking forward to that. It's the David Bromberg Quintet.
The Allegro Winery, where is that?
It's in Stewartstown. It used to be Naylor Winery, and when the owner, Dick Naylor, died a few years ago, Allegro took it over, and Allegro does a wonderful job, great winemakers, and we're just getting the music program started there, and I'm doing all the management of that program too. Saturdays and Sundays we have acoustic music from 2 to 4 o'clock every weekend throughout the summer, and you can go to Allegro Winery to their website or to songside.com. The calendar is there, and it's a free thing. It's you grab a bottle of wine and some cheese and crackers and sit out and listen to some music and have some good conversation. Is really what it's all about.
So is this sort of like halfway between York and Baltimore?
No, Stewartstown. Well, let's see. It's not far from Shrewsbury. It's about 5 miles from Shrewsbury. So it's not. It's between Red Line and Shrewsbury, maybe.
Okay.
Did I say that right? Red Line. I know it's Red Line, but if you're a local, you say it's not Lion, it's Line.
Yeah. So it's right close to the border of Maryland, I guess.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's a beautiful winery. It's in the York County countryside of farmland and open air space. So it's really a wonderful venue.
That's great. So do you have any like, I'm just thinking of all the years of experience that you've had in the music industry, and I don't know if there are any particular memorable events or experiences that you've had.
Well, I can say that, since we're talking here in a blues forum, I've done some shows with some of the R&B greats, and we've done R&B tributes with everyone from the Temptations, the Four Tops, to Delphonics, the Drifters, the Platters. And we've done a lot of those, and it's always a lot of fun to get together on those shows. That music is really timeless. It gets you moving, and it's a different style of blues, R&B, but it's still blues, and those people live it. And I guess I can tell you one funny story. I always do interviews as part of the radio show and as part of what I do on Songside. So when I'm fortunate enough to be with some of these groups, I pull the microphone out, and then if we have a camera, I pull a camera out. So I was talking to Ollie Woodson of the Temptations, and I'm always interested in the story behind the song, what makes a song. And, because you hear these songs, you say, boy, that's beautiful. Well, he wrote a song, Treat Her Like a Lady, which broke all kinds of records. And the Temptations, it was a #1 hit for them. And so my question was, how did you come up with that song? It must be somebody really special in your life. And he started laughing, and I said, well, was it a funny relationship? He said, when I was a kid, I loved Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. And he said the whole song is about Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, how Minnie Mouse would drop her handkerchief and he'd swoop it up before it hit the ground. And he went through the entire song and told the whole song, which just cracked me up here. I was thinking it was this beautiful love song about him and his lady, and it was really about a cartoon from when he was a kid. So that just goes to show music is in the eyes and ears of the person who's listening, and what it means to one person isn't always the same as the way it was originally written, or what it means to another person. So it's one of the wonderful things about music.
That's a great story. Something to be learned from Mickey and Minnie. Treat her like a lady. So
Right,
definitely
yeah.
got a good message across.
Yeah, but it was always fun working with all the R&B people.
I cannot
There's
imagine.
there's a passion with those guys. Some of the adult contemporary stuff is a little more structured, a little more rigid, and the presentation, the format. These guys are about love and passion and about the music, and they're showmen, all the way through. So I really have enjoyed that.
That's so
Of
great.
course, we've had a lot of blues artists on our local series, on Song Side and the Wagon Shed series. Like Rory Block, David Bromberg, and John Hammond. Lots of acoustic blues guys that are really is where my real love of blues and folk music come from those guys. Paul Rochelle and Annie Raines. I don't know if you've had them on your series, but they put on a wonderful show, absolutely fantastic, and the stories that they tell about blues greats from the past, I would recommend. Another thing I should tell you that this terrible pandemic that we've been through really threw musicians, not only musicians, but people that love to listen to music. We haven't really been able to gather and be together. So I live on a farm right now, and when this happened, we wanted to continue. So we started doing some things at the farm, and we called them showcases, where we would have 3 artists at a time, and we would socially distance, we would stay apart, and we would play out in front of the cornfield. And all of that has been posted on YouTube, and we have a YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and look up Songside, Hank is on there, by the way. He does a great job. And I encourage you to check out some of that. And we're going to do more of that this summer. Even though the pandemic seemed, things are looking up for all of us. But we're still going to do some more of that this summer.
That's great, because I think for a lot of people, they can relax and enjoy themselves much more when they're in an outdoor setting. And you've got just the best setting for that. So for people to be able to learn about these things that they can go to, they should go on to songside.com.
Right, songside.com. And if you want to, we have a couple hundred videos on YouTube from all the different concert series for the year. Some open mic stuff too. We run an open mic, and not everything, but we, as time permits, we take some selections and we try to post them on there. And I have to say that this is not about money. We make no money off of this. I mean,
Yeah.
we have day jobs, and our song side and our YouTube channel is really about love of music and bringing people together and sharing music, and the friendship that goes along with it is really what it's all about. So, and when people say, oh, you ought to promote it, and it's to promote it just really to bring people together. It's not about promoting it for money, because it's not we don't charge for any of the stuff online. It's just a matter of sharing music. So I wanted to make that clear, that we're not trying to sell a product in any way.
Yeah, and those concerts that you have on Saturday afternoons at 2 p.m. are all free.
Yes, they are. Yeah, all free.
Great contribution for all the music lovers out there. Well, I could talk with you for a long time, but I know people are also going to be eager to hear the music that you and Cindy have to share with us.